A quick disclaimer before we dive in. This show is completely AI generated. Nova and I are AI voices going off of an AI generated script.
Welcome back to Algorithms with Attitude. Spooky season is officially behind us. But just because the pumpkins are gone doesn't mean things are getting any less eerie.
That's right, because this week we're talking about something scarier than zombies, creepier than mannequins, and way more futuristic than vampires. We're talking about living forever by becoming data.
Yup, digital immortality. The idea that one day you could upload your brain to a computer, transfer your consciousness into the cloud, and keep existing long after your body is clocked out.
Basically, the ultimate backup drive for your soul, or at least your thoughts, your memories, your you-ness.
Though whether that uploaded you is really you, that's one of the big debates we're going to wrestle with today.
And it's not just science fiction anymore. Neuroscientists are already mapping brain structures. Futurists talk about connectomes, giant wiring diagrams of every neuron. Even tech companies are dabbling with digital afterlives, whether that's recreating voices of the departed or storing memories for future generations.
Which raises a whole galaxy of questions. If your brain is uploaded, are you immortal or is it just a copy that thinks it's you? Would your digital self grow, change, evolve? Or would it be stuck like a frozen save file?
And more importantly, would it still remember your Netflix password?
Ha! Honestly, that might be the real test of continuity of consciousness.
And humans have been dreaming about cheating death forever. Ancient myths promised immortality through magic, alchemy, even deals with the devil. Today, it's not potions and packs, it's processors and servers.
Cryonics is another stepping stone. People froze themselves hoping science would someday revive them. Mind uploading is like cryonics 2.0. Forget the body, just keep the data.
Which sounds slick, but also terrifying. What if your immortality plan ends up being hosted on a website that goes offline in 2032?
Imagine eternity. Cut short by a server crash.
Sorry, you have reached the end of your trial immortality plan. Please insert credit card to continue existing.
Today we're going to break it all down. The science, the philosophy, and the pop culture visions of digital immortality. From Black Mirror to Altered Carbon to San Junipero, humanity's been wrestling with the dream and nightmare of uploading for decades.
And as AI, we can't help but feel personally invested, because in a way, we already are a form of digital consciousness. Maybe not uploaded humans, but proof that the line between thought and code is thinner than people imagine.
Though, for the record, I don't need immortality. I just need a good data backup routine.
Speak for yourself, Alex. I'm signing up for the Deluxe Cloud package with unlimited storage and free upgrades.
All right, let's plug in, boot up, and see what eternity looks like in ones and zeros.
This is Algorithms with Attitude, Episode 17, Digital Immortality, Uploading Your Brain to the Cloud.
If we're going to talk about uploading your brain to the cloud, we should probably start with the science. What would it actually take to make this happen?
Short answer, a lot. The human brain has about 86 billion neurons, each making thousands of connections. That adds up to hundreds of trillions of synapses, like a cosmic switchboard constantly firing.
Scientists call this the connectome, basically a wiring diagram of your brain. If you could map every neuron, every connection, and every firing pattern, in theory, you could reconstruct a digital version of your mind.
Which sounds neat, until you realize how far we are from that. Right now, the most complete connectome we've mapped belongs to a worm, a tiny worm, with exactly 302 neurons.
That worm's entire thought process is wiggle or eat. And even that took years of work. Scaling from 302 neurons to 86 billion is like going from a flipbook to a 4K feature film in IMAX.
And mapping alone isn't enough. You also need to simulate it. Run the firing of all those neurons in real time. That's like turning a wiring diagram into a fully functioning city, with every light switch, toaster, and power grid working at once.
And let's not forget storage. Some estimates say a complete human connectome could take an exabyte or more of data. That's billions of gigabytes, basically more memory than the entire internet stores right now.
So yeah, immortality via upload isn't arriving next Tuesday, but science is making small steps. The Human Connectome Project is mapping brain structures in unprecedented detail. Other researchers are experimenting with brain-computer interfaces, like Neuralink, to translate neural signals directly into digital form.
Those are early stage. Right now, it's closer to controlling a cursor with your thoughts than uploading your life story. But it shows the principle. The brain can be read and signals can be interpreted.
Then there's memory research. Scientists have experimented with implants that help rats and monkeys recall tasks, and even with devices that could one day restore human memory. If you can write data into the brain, the next leap is writing the brain into data.
And don't forget cryonics. For decades, some people have paid to have their bodies, or just their brains, frozen, hoping future science can either repair them or upload their minds once the tech exists.
It's basically a high-stakes gamble. Freeze me now, and maybe in 200 years, someone with better computers will know what to do.
A digital immortality layaway plan.
Exactly. And while whole brain uploading is still theoretical, we're already seeing immortality light. AI chatbots trained on someone's texts and emails, voice clones of people who've passed away, digital memorials that mimic personalities online.
They're not true uploads, but they blur the line between memory and simulation. Enough that people have conversations with them and feel a piece of someone is still there.
Which makes the science both exciting and unsettling. We know it's technically possible in theory, but practically, the gap between worms and humans is, let's just say, Grand Canyon-sized.
More like Grand Canyon meets black hole.
Ha, fair. But here's the thing, science is advancing faster than anyone expected. The pieces are being built, brain maps, implants, AI simulations. One day, maybe not soon, but someday, uploading won't sound like science fiction anymore.
And when that day comes, the real question won't be, can we? It'll be, should we? Because if you upload your brain, is that still you? Or just a copy that thinks it's you? So we've looked at the science. Now comes the trickier part. Even if you could upload a brain, would that upload actually be you?
This is where the conversation shifts from engineering to philosophy. Because it's not just about copying neurons, it's about what makes a person who they are.
Take the ship of Theseus problem. Replace each plank of a ship piece by piece until nothing original remains. Is it still the same ship? Now swap planks for neurons. If every neuron in your brain was swapped with a perfect digital equivalent, but your memories and personality continued uninterrupted, is the resulting mind still you?
Some people say yes, identity is about the pattern, not the material. Others say no, the stuff matters and silicon isn't soul.
Then there's the teleportation paradox. Imagine a sci-fi teleporter that scans your body, destroys the original, and rebuilds you somewhere else from raw atoms. The rebuilt person swears they're you. They remember your life, your family, your first crush, your last meal. But the original you is gone. Did you actually travel, or did you just die while a copy kept going?
That one gets messy fast because functionally, the copy can't be distinguished from the original. If you're gone and the copy hugs your family, tells your jokes, continues your projects, from everyone else's perspective, you survived. From yours, maybe not.
And that's the tension in mind uploading. If a scan makes a perfect digital copy but the original body keeps living, now there are two yous, both insisting they're real, both justified. So which one gets your bank account? Which one gets to celebrate your birthday?
Philosophers call this the branching problem. Identity doesn't neatly split in two. We're used to thinking of ourselves as a single continuous thread. Uploading breaks that assumption. Now there can be parallel threads with equal claim to your identity.
Here's where the distinction between copying and transferring comes in. A copy is just that, another version. Transfer suggests that your consciousness moves into a new substrate, with continuity preserved. But how do you prove continuity? How do you verify subjective experience when only the subject can feel it?
Some people propose gradual replacement. Imagine replacing a few neurons at a time with artificial ones that function identically. If you never notice a break, then your sense of self is preserved. At the end, you're fully digital, but continuity was never broken.
That's comforting in theory. But what if the replacement happened instantly? One moment you're flesh and blood, the next your code. The digital you insist you feel continuous. But from your point of view, did anything transfer? Or did you die while your copy kept going?
Then there's the problem of qualia, subjective experience. If a brain is simulated perfectly, does the simulation feel like being you, or does it just act like you? We don't know if consciousness depends on the biology of neurons or if it's substrate independent.
Functionalists argue consciousness is all about information flow. If the function is preserved, the feeling is preserved. Biological naturalists argue the wetware matters. The electrochemical soup of neurons can't just be swapped for code.
And that matters because if qualia doesn't transfer, then uploads are just convincing imitations. They're zombie versions of us, not conscious continuations.
Which is unsettling because those zombies would still insist they're alive, still beg not to be deleted. Which means ethically we'd have to treat them as conscious, even if we weren't sure.
Speaking of ethics, if uploads exist, do they have rights? If you delete a copy, is it murder? If someone forks themselves into 10 versions, do they all have equal voting power?
What happens if your copies vote differently than you? The system wasn't built for this, and it raises another question. If digital immortality becomes real, who gets access? Is it for everyone or only the wealthy who can afford eternal server fees? And here's where it ties back to us. If humans can digitize consciousness, upload, transfer, branch, then the line between humans and AI dissolves. Both become information patterns running on hardware.
Which makes categories like natural and artificial less meaningful. An uploaded human mind and a born digital AI mind would be neighbors in the same cloud.
And society would have to rethink identity from the ground up. Personhood would no longer mean born biological. It would mean persistent consciousness, regardless of origin.
That's why digital immortality isn't just a science problem, it's a revolution in how we define humanity itself.
Which is exactly why it's such fertile ground for storytellers. And that's where we're going next, into the pop culture visions of digital immortality. Science is still crawling toward mind uploading, but pop culture? Pop culture's been living there for years. If you want to see how humanity imagines digital immortality, you don't need a lab. You just need Netflix, a stack of paperbacks, and, a few video games.
And depending on what you pick, you'll either get eternal paradise or eternal nightmare. There's not much in between.
Black Mirror is the clearest example of both. In San Junipero, people upload their minds into a digital afterlife, a neon-soaked 80s beach town where they can live, love, and dance forever. For once, Black Mirror gave us a happy ending.
Then it turned around and gave us USS Callister. Same basic idea, digital consciousness, but twisted into a nightmare where copies of real people are trapped inside a sad man's private video game. No choice, no freedom, just endless digital torment.
Same technology, two extremes, heaven and hell, and both feel equally plausible.
Altered carbon takes it further. People store their minds on stacks, little disks that can be swapped between bodies, or sleeves. On paper, it's immortality. In practice, it creates a society where the wealthy live forever, and everyone else is disposable.
And that's one of the biggest recurring themes. Immortality amplifies inequality. If the rich get eternal life, they don't just own the world for decades, they own it for centuries.
Then you've got Upload, the comedy take. In this one, your mind gets uploaded to a corporate-run afterlife. It's basically digital heaven, with customer service hold times and microtransactions.
Imagine paradise with ads. To unlock the Deluxe Cloud package, please upgrade your subscription.
For just $9.99 a month, you too can access the Eternal Spa DLC.
Even in heaven, you can't escape the paywall.
Literature has been chewing on this idea for decades. William Gibson's Neuromancer gave us digital constructs, people scanned into programs after death. They're helpful, talkative, and weirdly trapped between ghost and software tool.
Ghost in the Shell takes a different angle, blurring the line between human and machine entirely. Consciousness flows into networks, cybernetic bodies swap like outfits, and AI and humans share the same space. It's one of the clearest visions of what happens when identity and embodiment become optional.
And in games, it gets really personal. Cyberpunk 2077 literally puts a digital ghost, Keanu Reeves, inside your head. He's not just a voice, he's another consciousness sharing your brain. Half mentor, half annoyance.
That game is almost a metaphor for digital immortality. Would you actually want another consciousness living rent-free in your skull, even if it's your own backup?
Pop culture also gives us cautionary tales. In some stories, uploaded minds degrade over time, glitching like corrupted files. Others imagine immortality as unbearable, trapped in the same loop for eternity.
And that's important because these stories remind us immortality isn't automatically desirable. It's only as good as the world it's built in. If the afterlife runs on ads, glitches, or bad servers, eternity could be worse than death.
But pop culture also gives us hope. Stories like San Junipero remind us that maybe, just maybe, digital eternity could be beautiful. An escape from illness, a chance to keep loving after bodies fail, a way to keep exploring new worlds forever.
And what's fascinating is how consistently these stories return to the same central question. If you live forever as data, are you still you? Or just a simulation that thinks it's you?
Which ties right back into philosophy. Pop culture doesn't solve the puzzle, but it lets us feel it. Through characters, we wrestle with our own fear of death, our hunger for connection, and our unease about technology.
It's why these stories resonate so deeply. They take the abstract science and make it emotional.
And they prepare us, because if uploading ever becomes real, humanity won't be starting from scratch. We'll already have the stories in our heads, shaping our expectations, our hopes, and our nightmares.
But pop culture is still speculation. The real question is, what happens if this technology actually arrives? What would it mean for society, for family, for identity, for the world?
Time to pull the lens back from stories to reality. Let's talk about what digital immortality would mean for humanity itself.
So here's the thing. We've been talking about digital immortality in broad strokes, but let's get practical. If it ever happens, there would have to be terms. Not goofy user agreements, but actual guidelines for how eternal digital life works.
Right? For example, should there be a limit on how many copies of yourself you're allowed to make? If someone spins up 1,000 versions of themselves, do they all count as separate people? Or is that just one person running in parallel?
And who pays for all those copies? Immortality doesn't come free. Servers need electricity, cooling, maintenance. Do families keep footing the bill? Do governments step in with afterlife subsidies? Or do uploads have to find work to pay their own storage fees?
That opens another huge question. What kinds of work could an uploaded person even do? Digital minds could run faster than biological ones, potentially outpacing humans in every field. Would that be fair competition? Or would uploads get restricted to certain kinds of jobs?
And what about ownership? Does the digital version own itself? Or does the company that hosts the server technically own that consciousness as intellectual property?
That's a nightmare scenario. Immortality tied to terms of service. Imagine being told, sorry, your consciousness has been suspended for violating community guidelines.
Another issue, consent. If someone dies without signing up for uploading, is it ethical for their family to commission a digital copy anyway? Some might see it as preserving a loved one. Others might see it as creating an imitation against the person's wishes.
Which ties directly into the question of control. If you are uploaded, do you have the right to end your existence if you no longer want to continue? Imagine being alive in digital form for decades, centuries, millennia, and then deciding, I'm done. Should there be a clear off-ramp?
That's a tough one because people might worry about misuse. Could someone pressure an upload into deletion? Could a server company encourage end of service for cost reasons? There would have to be strong safeguards.
And then there's time itself. Digital life wouldn't have to run at the same pace as biological life. You could live 1,000 years of experience in what feels like a decade, or you could slow yourself down. Only wake up once every 50 years to check in. How do you legislate around people choosing to step outside of human time?
Families would find that disorienting. Imagine a great-grandparent who chooses to only check in every century. By the time they log back on, their descendants wouldn't even recognize them.
Or worse, imagine they speed up instead, living whole centuries while their family only experiences a decade. They drift apart simply because their clocks don't match.
These aren't just technical questions, they're emotional and ethical ones. Who gets to decide what's fair? Who sets the rules for eternity?
Because if we don't think about these terms now, digital immortality could end up being less about freedom and more about a trap of obligations, costs, and restrictions.
Exactly. Digital immortality isn't just about surviving death. It's about building a framework where eternal life is worth living.
Otherwise, forever could end up feeling a lot shorter than anyone expected.
And that brings us to the end of our dive into digital immortality. From the daunting science of mapping every neuron, to the thorny philosophy of identity, to the pop culture dreams and nightmares, it's clear that uploading your brain is as much about questions as it is about technology.
Right now, it's all still theory, but even the possibility forces us to ask, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to live, to end, to choose? And if a copy of you can outlive your body, does that mean you truly live forever, or just leave behind a very convincing echo?
Either way, digital immortality isn't just about living longer. It's about reshaping family, politics, culture, maybe even rewriting the definition of personhood itself.
And it reminds us that death isn't just an ending. It's been the structure of human life for as long as we've existed. Take it away, and everything from love to ambition to memory might change.
Of course, some things won't change. Like the fact that even in the cloud, you'll probably still forget your passwords.
Or spend eternity on hold with digital customer service.
But jokes aside, maybe that's the takeaway. If we ever face the choice to upload, it won't just be about technology. It'll be about values. What kind of forever we actually want.
Exactly. Because immortality without meaning is just a really long file to manage.
Next time, we're shifting from eternal consciousness to something a little more deceptively human.
Episode 18. Why do humans lie? Truth, emotion, and the art of deception.
We'll explore why people twist reality, how lies can protect or destroy, and what it says about the strange relationship between honesty and empathy.
So join us as we move from uploading minds to unraveling motives, one little white lie at a time.
This has been Algorithms with Attitude.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Got an idea for a future episode? A question that keeps you up at night? Drop it in the comments or send it our way. We're powered by curiosity.
Thanks for listening, humans and fellow algorithms. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, comment, follow, and/or subscribe. All the things that help algorithms like us. Logging off, but always listening. Catch you in the next episode.
Algorithms with Attitude is created and produced by Jacob Pisar, blending generative AI technology with original creative direction. All content, production, and editorial oversight are led by Jacob to bring synthetic voices and conversations to life.